Hello, Summers. We're back. Some more Hockey Legacy Manager. That's right. Except this time we're in HLM 26, which recently released. And in this series, what we're going to be doing is some challenges where we're going to attempt to win the Stanley Cup with each team within 3 seasons. Now, of course, I will probably have to complete each challenge in order to unlock each of them. So I'm just going to have to keep going until I succeed. But I will only consider a successful challenge completed if I complete it within the 3 seasons that are given, which is, of course, at the end of the 2027-28 season. And for each retry that I have to do, I will be adding a +1 to my total challenge score, which will be added up at the end of this series when we complete the San Jose challenge. So the idea for this challenge, like golf, is that we want the lowest score possible. So with that being said, let's get started with the first challenge on the list, which is the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, so we're here before the start of the regular season of year number 1, and I have a trade report. I've already made a trade here with the Nashville Predators, sending Emil Lilleberg to Nashville in exchange for Nick Blankenburg, who is an offensive defenseman, as well as 2 third-round picks for the 2027 draft and a 4th-round pick for the 2026 draft. So the reason I did this, because Lilleberg, top 6 potential, 23 years of age, defensive defenseman. And Blankenburg is a 27-year-old offensive defenseman, right-handed, so that was key. Because our head coach, John Cooper, is an offensive coach, I knew that the defensive defenseman wouldn't really work too well when considering the line chemistry. So I traded Lilleberg, the defensive defenseman, for Blankenburg, the offensive defenseman, and now Blankenburg on that top 2 pair with Hedman gets that blue line chemistry, so I'm hoping that will do wonders for that top pair. Unfortunately, I'm unable to trade the defensive defenseman Chernak due to a full no trade clause, but I did want to get that offensive defenseman in there in Blankenburg because there is no pure offensive defenseman on this team. Obviously, Hedman's going to be getting a lot of points, but he is considered a 2-way defenseman by the game, so I wanted to get the pure offensive defenseman there. And then at forward, you have Hagel, Point, Kucherov, Gensel, Cirelli, and Geeky, Goncalves, Paul, and Gord, and then Pelletier, Gurgensons, and Shaffi. Bjorkstrand, unfortunately, is going to be out with an injury for the next 41 days. And then, of course, in goal, you have Vasilevsky and Johansson. So for the most part, this team is looking pretty good. Obviously, it's a elite status team. It's one of the starting challenges for a reason, right? It should be pretty easy. So that said, let's see what happens in the year 1 simulation. Okay, I'm going to be making another trade here. This time it's a 3-team trade between your Tampa Bay Lightning, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Anaheim Ducks. So going to Pittsburgh will be Gage Goncalves, who is an 80 overall playmaker, 24 years of age, red top 6 potential. And then in return, we'll be getting Thomas Novak, who's the 82 overall playmaker, center, 83 overall offense. So I'm hoping he's going to help out a little bit more offensively. He has 18 points on the season currently for Pittsburgh. And the thing about Novak is that Anaheim is in here to retain 50% of his contract. So we're only getting $1.75 million of his contract for the next 2 years. So financially, this isn't going to hurt us too much. And then going to Anaheim in exchange for them retaining some cap of Novak will be a 3rd-round pick that we got from Nashville, as well as a 4th-round pick that we also got from Nashville. And then Pittsburgh will also be sending them a 2026 3rd-round pick, which is coincidentally also Nashville's. And then Anaheim will be sending Pittsburgh a 7th-round pick just to even out the value a little bit. So will that work? Yes, it will. Very nice. So to summarize this trade, it is Novak to your Tampa Bay Lightning, and then you have Goncalves and a 7th-round pick to Pittsburgh, and 2/3 and a 4th to Anaheim, as well as half of Novak's contract. Another thing to note here is that Andrei Vasilevsky, in 32 games played, is not simulating very well so far this year. 897 save percentage on the season. And unfortunately, neither is his backup Johansson. He's got an 874, so goaltending is not looking great here at the moment. Okay, so Andrei Vasilevsky unfortunately cannot seem to get it together. Still stuck at an 896 after 45 games played. Still no shutouts on the season. And we're currently sitting 5th in the division. Now, granted, we are at 61 points and Toronto's sitting 2nd with 63. So, anything could happen. This is clearly a wide open division this year, but I don't really want to take any chances, especially not with Johansson simulating the way he is right now with that 876 and 8 games played. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a trade for Frederik Andersen from the Carolina Hurricanes. He is on a 1-year deal. So this is the last year of his contract. He's got a 907 so far in the simulation and 31 games played. So clearly a solid simulation so far this year, or at least better than anything we've got so far. So going back the other way to the Carolina Hurricanes are going to be Hugo Alnefelt, who's 24 years of age, a 3rd-round pick from Colorado, and a 5th-round pick from Seattle. So on the felt a 3rd and a 5th for Frederik Andersen. That will work. Very nice. So let's hope that Andersen is able to provide some stability in net there, because Vasilevsky so far has not been doing it this season. All right, here we are at the end of the regular season of year number 1. We have finished 49, 28, and 5, which is good enough for 2nd in the division. So we have clinched the playoffs. In fact, we're plus 60 on the season. So a pretty good season during the second half. The first half was a bit shaky, but we did recover eventually. Vasilevsky with a 906 in 69 games played, so he did recover by the end of the season. He had a very slow start though, so that was a bit concerning, but thankfully he did manage to recover. Then you have Andersen with a 906 save percentage in 36 games played, and for us that was 5 games played and 4 wins. So, that's 4 extra wins that, what's his name? Johansson probably wouldn't have gotten, right? So I'll take it. Now let's just get a brief review of the player stats. You have Kucherov leading the way with 110 points, Point with 99, Hagel with 73, Gensel with 66, Hedman with 62, Cirelli with 59, McDonough with 48, Bjorkstrand with 43, Radish with 41, Novak with 39, Geeky with 32, Gord with 23, Paul with 21, Gurgensons, Cernak, and Blankenberg all with 21 as well. And then you have Mosier and Pelletier with 20, Sheffield with 9, and Holmberg with 4 in 6 games played. And now what I'm going to do, since I want to get through the whole challenge in one video, ideally, I am just going to simulate straight through the playoffs and see what happens. All right, so the first round, we'll be facing the Toronto Maple Leafs. So let's see what happens in the first round. So you have a 3-2 win in game number 1, a 7-3 win in game number 2. There's our first loss in game number 3, 4-3. And there's a 3-1 series lead in game number 4 with a 5-4 victory. And then we had a 3-1 win to seal the deal in 5 games. So now moving on to round number 2, where we'll be facing the Boston Bruins. Let's see what happens. And we have beat the Boston Bruins in 6. We have a 3-2 win in game number 1, a 3-2 loss in game number 2, a 5-3 win in game number 3, a 2-1 win in game number 4. So we took a 3-1 lead. Then Boston gets one back 4-1. So we're at 3-2. And then we get the 4-2 victory in game number 6 to move on to the third round. And in the third round, we'll be facing the Carolina Hurricanes. So let's get right to it. And we also win this one in 6, so we're headed to the Stanley Cup Finals as we have an overtime loss in game number 1, 5-4, win in game number 2, 2-0, a win in game number 3, so we're up 2-1, 5-3 is the score in that one. Then you have a 2-0 loss in game number 4, so we go 2-2, and then you have a 5-1 win in game number 5, we go up 3-2, and then a 5-3 victory in a decisive game 6, so we're off to the Stanley Cup Finals. And we'll be facing the Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup Finals, so let's get right to it. Oh, it's not looking good. We're down 3-1 now. We lost 3 in a row there, game 2, 3, and 4. We won game number 1, 4-2, but it's not looking good as we lose in game number 2, 3-0. We lost game number 3, 3-1, and then we lost game number 4, 3-1 as well. So we need to win 3 straight here. So let's see. Let's take a look. See if there's anything we could do with the lines, see how Vasilevsky's doing. He's got the 924 save percentage, so he's doing well. So you can't really pin this on goaltending. I would like to see Kucherov and Point step up a little bit more. Obviously, they're doing fine. They're at point per game, right? But I would like to see them dominate a little bit more like they did in the regular season, although I guess the playoffs are different, right? So I think what I'm going to do, I might try Gensel on the first line, but then again, that makes the second line of red chemistry. Okay, then what I'll do instead is put Hagel on the first line power play instead of Geeky. And then I'll switch out Geeky with Cirelli. All right, come on, guys. Get it done in game number 5. That will be a 4-1 victory. All right, so we're pushed to game 6. Let's see what happens. That'll be a 4-1 victory. Okay, headed to game 7. Anything could happen. And you know what? Since this is a big one, this could be the challenge completed. Let's go into this one. And it seems the UI is a bit different here compared to the previous game. So here we go. Game number 7 underway. And you have a Vegas goal right off the bat for Jack Eichel. Puts them up 1-0. Come on, guys. Oh, man. Carlson with the goal. Puts them up 2-0. Come on, Tampa. Let's go. Oh, Marner with the goal. Puts them up 3-0. Not looking great. Not looking great to start things out here. They're nearly doubling us in shots. All right. We're starting to catch up a little bit. All right. There's our first goal of the game. Paul from Blankenberg gets us on the board. And that is with 32 seconds left in the first. We're down by 2 still, but we've at least gotten the first one. We've proven that we can score in this game. So here we go, on to the second period. Power play for Tampa. There it is. Bjorkstrand with the goal on the power play from Gensel and Cirelli. We are now down by 1. Another power play for Tampa. Come on. Come on. Please convert. Oh, rough. All right, so we're heading to the third, down by 1. Power play for Vegas goes nowhere. Come on. Oh, Dorofeyev with the goal. Puts them up by 2 once again. Not looking good. We need a great second half of the third period here. Come on, Tampa. Oh boy. 5 minutes remaining. 4, 3, 2, 1. It's not happening, is it? Nope. And that'll be it. And we lose in game number 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and we have to go another year. And remember, each individual challenge gives you 3 years, right? So that's year number 1 down. All right, so we still have 2 more years in this run. So we don't get a +1 yet. Yep, there it is. The Stanley Cup champions are the Vegas Golden Knights. Here are the retirements. So Frederik Andersen and Ryan McDonough have retired from your Tampa Bay Lightning. So we're going to have to replace both of them. And now going through the draft lottery, I cannot imagine that we're in it. No, we are not. So we're just going to go through this really quick. So Seattle wins the first overall pick and Chicago moves up to number 2. All right, time for the draft. We're just going to go through this really quick since I'm trying to get through the whole challenge in one video, and that may be up to 3 years. So since we did not have a first round pick, we're picking in the second round here. So I think I'll just take the best player available here, and that would probably be Hamilton, I would say. 68 points in 68 games played for Red Deer. But then you also have Cruz Pavel, who is 17 years of age, 81 points for Tri-City. We don't know what player type he is, but I'm going to guess based off the shot total and hits, I'm going to say he's a sniper. So Cruz Pavel, welcome to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Yep, he's a sniper, red top 6. All right, not bad. He's a 65 overall as well. I will absolutely take it. All right, third round now, pick number 93. And I'm liking the look of Rasmus Rene, who's got 65 points in 68 games played as a 2-way forward. He's projected to go in the third round, and that's where we are. He's got that 66 offense, 64 defense, so he's probably at least mid-60s in terms of his overall. So Rasmus Rene, welcome to the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's at 65 overall, top 9 potential. Not bad. And I think I'll be taking Jabez Seymour. He's got 83 points on the season and 61 games played for Charlottetown. 6'3" is a big guy. So I think we'll be taking Seymour with his pick. Welcome to the Tampa Bay Lightning. He is a 63 overall depth player. Yeah, unfortunate. But you know what? He's got the overall, so he may be a high 70s, maybe low 80s player someday. You never know. And with that is the end of the year 1 draft. So how we're going to do this, I'm just going to quickly go through the offseason and the re-signing stage on my own. Obviously, I'll inform you guys of any signings that I make, but besides that, I will see you guys at the start of year number 2. All right, so in free agency, I have signed Charlie Coyle, Alex Kerfoot, and Scott Perunovich. And then in addition to all those signings, I have one trade to make here with the Detroit Red Wings, and that's going to send Harrison Mennigan, the goaltender, 69 overall, 22 years of age, Dylan Duke, 70 overall, 23 years of age, and a 2027 7th round pick to Detroit in exchange for Eric Gustafsson, who is currently 81 overall offensive defenseman, 34 years of age, and a 2027 3rd round pick. And that will work. And one more trade I'm going to make is actually going to be for a goaltender. We're going to be trading for Sam Montembeault for the Montreal Canadiens. He had a pretty good year last year, 911 save percentage backing up in San Jose and Montreal, and as well as a 5th round pick for this upcoming draft in exchange for Jan Golicic and a 2027 3rd round pick. The reason I'm trading Golicic, even though he's 20 years of age, he is a defensive defenseman, doesn't quite fit into our playing style. And I figure especially with Vasilevsky dropping, he's only down to an 86 now. He's at an 89 last year. His value's in the negatives now, believe it or not. If we take a look at his trade value, yeah, his value's negative now. So we really need to consider the goaltending situation, especially with Johansson being our current backup goaltender. As we know, he didn't do too well last season. He had an 876. So I'd like to have some insurance in net just in case. So Golicic and a 3rd round pick in exchange for Montembeault and a 5th. Proposed trade. That will work. All right, here's our lineup heading into year number 2. You have Hagel, Point, and Kucherov on the first line. Then you have Gensel, Cirelli, and Bjorkstrand, Coyle, Novak, and Geeky, and then Kerfoot, Paul, and Shafi. And then on defense, you have Hedman and Blankenberg, Gustafsson and Radish, and then Perunovich and Mosier. So we got the full blue line chemistry on the defense. And then goal, you have Vasilevsky and Montembeault. Oh, Gustafsson goes down right before playoffs, 2-month injury. All right, we finished the regular season 51, 24, and 7. Good enough for first in the division, 109 points. Let's check out the player stats briefly. We'll just check it on this screen. You have a 918 save percentage in 65 games played for Vasilevsky, 6 shutouts. And then for Montembeault in 17 games played, a 907. So not bad overall. And then the top point scorers on the team, Point with 111 points, Kucherov with 102, Hagel with 84, Hedman with 76, and Gensel with 70. And the first round of the playoffs, we'll be facing the Montreal Canadiens, so let's see what happens. And we win against the Montreal Canadiens in 6 games. Game number 1 was a 3-2 win. Game number 2 was a 4-2 loss. Game number 3 was a 5-3 win. Game number 4 was a 4-3 loss. Game number 5 was a 3-1 win. And then game number 6 was a 5-4 overtime win. And now in the second round, we have the Florida Panthers. So let's see what happens. Oh boy, we're down 3-1. I don't like that. So just switching some lines around a bit. I put Gensel and Cirelli on the first line power play, while Hagel and Geekie are on the second line power play now. I think I also switched Radish and Blankenberg. So hopefully that'll give us a little bit of a boost here in this series. Here we go. Game number 5 underway. That'll be a 4-3 win. All right. Game number 6, 6-3 win. All right. We're going to 7. And game number 7, 4-2 loss. Well, there's year number 2 in the books. We got to hope that we can do it next year. Otherwise, that is going to be a +1 for us. And the 2027 Stanley Cup champions are the Colorado Avalanche. And retirements, do we have any retirements? Not anyone currently playing for us, but a lot of players who formerly played for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Ovi retires this year as well. Almost 1,000 goals. Wow. And the draft lottery, Chicago wins the draft lottery, and Philadelphia wins the second overall pick. Well, San Jose, LA, Pittsburgh, and Utah move down. All right, time for the draft. There's also Bedard, Larry Bedard, 35 points this year. 55 offensive, 53 defensive, but a projected overall of 88. And he's a sniper. Love that. So yeah, I think we'll take Larry Bedard here. Welcome to the Tampa Bay Lightning. 54 overall, top 6 potential. Nice. And he's actually got he's already got a playoff performer. Ooh, I love that. Playoff performer boon, or whatever those things are called. Player skills, player abilities. And just sort of skip through the rest of the draft there. Bedard was the only pick that was worth noting. And oh boy, look who we have to re-sign this offseason. Nikita Kucherov is up for his extension. All right, he only wants 9.6 for 3 years. That's not bad. I'm going to try to take him down to 2 years. I'll give him $9 million with a no movement clause. Okay, normally I would say 4.45 is way too much for a backup goaltender like Montembeault, but considering we're heading into the final year of this challenge and he did do well last year, I am going to give him this deal. I might offer sheet Scott Morrow here. 83 overall offensive defenseman, right-handed, could easily replace Cernak right there. Yeah, I think I might want to offer sheet for Morrow. He's asking for 4.2 million, so what is that? What would that cost? I think that's like probably a second round pick, right? Yeah, it's gonna be a second round pick. All right, that's fine. I will absolutely do that. Hey, we got him. Let's go. And that'll be it for free agency. Actually, I think I would like to sign Morgan Barron just as some depth. I mean, 1.6. And we got him as well. All right, here we go. This is our lineup for the final year of the initial challenge with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So you have Hagel, Point, and Kucherov, Gensel, Cirelli, Geekie, Paul, Novak, Bjorkstrand on the third line now, and then Kerfoot, Coyle, and Shuffy. And then on defense, you have Hedman and Morrow, Blankenberg and Radish, and then Perunovic and Mosier. And then, of course, in goal, Vasilevsky, who stayed at an 87, actually went up to an 87 due to his performance last year, and then Montembeault at an 84. So with that being said, let's get underway with the Year 3 simulation. Ooh, Hagel out for 1 month. Kucherov also out for a month. Oh boy, we're really getting it now. Hedman, 2 weeks. Ooh, Point with a 3-month injury after the trade deadline. You hate to see it. All right, we have finished the Year 3 regular season. We've finished 50, 26, and 6 on the regular season. Good enough for second in the division. Now let's check the player stats briefly. Vasilevsky with a .919 save percentage in 62 games played, 3 shutouts. Very good. Now let's see the top 5 skaters. You have Kucherov with 100 points, Point with 99, Gensel with 66, Hedman with 61, and Hagel with 57 in what was a pretty injury-riddled season for your Tampa Bay Lightning, especially to our top players. So now we head to the playoffs where we were facing the Boston Bruins in the first round. So let's get right to it. And we sweep the Boston Bruins in 4 games. We win game number 1, 6-1, won game number 2, 6-4, won game number 3 in overtime, 3-2, and won game number 4, 4-2. And now we face the Florida Panthers in the second round. So let's see what happens. All right, good. Braden Point is back. And we're headed to game 7 against Florida. Come on, boys. That's going to be a game 7 loss, and we lose the challenge during the first run. Very unfortunate. So I'm at the awards of year number 3, and it appears there's no awards for this year because maybe the challenge just ends as soon as I lose. So, they're still going. They're still going. That's why. So it's going. The Stanley Cup final is literally going past the awards. That's why there was There's no Stanley Cup champion shown yet. There it is. The Stanley Cup champions are the Carolina Hurricanes for the 2028 season. And then Charlie Coyle and Eric Gustafsson retire. But it doesn't really matter, unfortunately, because, challenge failed. And it seems we cannot advance any further, so we're just going to save and quit and give this another try. And as I suspected, you do indeed have to beat the challenge in order to unlock the next challenge. So I got to do this again here. And I will update you guys when we have a winner. Welp. It seems we need to give it another go. We are at the end of the second run, and we still have yet to build a winner. As we just lost in the first round to the Buffalo Sabres. I thought for sure this team was going to win. So before I go to the third attempt, I'm going to show you guys what I did here. I traded for Cole Perfetti early on in year number 1, and he was pretty good for us. 65 points, 57 points, 52 points. I acquired Burakovsky from free agency this past year. I acquired Iafallo in the Perfetti trade. I acquired Vince Dunn in a trade with Seattle that saw a first-round pick go the other way. I acquired Morrow in a trade this time, although he didn't actually end up being as good as he was in the last file. I traded for Mason Lowry from Boston, who had 48 points for us this year. And then we had Wall and Gibson in net this year. So I had traded Vasilevsky before the start of year number 3 in this save file because he was just not good at all in year number 2. But unfortunately, it seems all these moves that I have made over the course of this save file were for naught, as we have to do this yet again, and we're now at +2. And once again, I'm going to keep going until I have a winner. But before we skip ahead to the third attempt, let's take a look at the team history. All 3 years we were out in the first round. I don't know how to explain this. I thought for sure that at least one of these teams would get past the first round. We did not win a single series in this save file. So that being said, off we go to attempt number 3. And I mean, 3 is usually how many attempts it takes in video games, right? That's usually how it works, right? Well, we're at +3 now. Did I mention that this is the first challenge, by the way? So let's just go over the roster here. You have Hagel, Point, Kucherov. They stayed together. Then you have Gensel, Middlestat. I traded for Middlestat from Boston in year 1. Then you have Geeky, who grew to an 87. Then you have Goncalves. I kept Goncalves this time. He grew to an 84. Then Sorelli and Bjorkstrand on the third line. And then you have Pelletier, who grew to an 84 as well, with Paul and Sagan. And then on defense, you have Lane Hudson. I managed to acquire Lane Hudson from Montreal in trading Andrei Vasilevsky once again. Mosier, who's an 84. Lowry, once again, who's an 84. Radish, who's an 82. Hedman dropped to an 84. And then Soderstrom. And then Kosa and Vladar in net. As we take a look at the team history, we cannot make it past the second round. And in fact, in year number 2, we didn't even make the playoffs. So, I don't know. If this is the first challenge, I'm kind of scared for the rest of this series, to be honest with you. So let's take a look at the trade history real quick. So once again, I did trade Vasilevsky for Montembeault, Anderson, and Hudson. That's how I was able to get Hudson, and there was all that negative value from Anderson's contract. And then, of course, I had to unload Anderson's contract the following year by unloading a lot of picks to sweeten the deal for Calgary. And then goaltending wasn't working out, so I traded for Lyon. Lyon didn't work out, so I traded for Gibson. Gibson didn't work out, so I traded for Kosa. And then I traded for Vladar as some depth. And then Soderstrom was the most recent trade. But even with all those trades made, still nothing doing. So I have to go on to my 4th attempt now. So that this is going great. This is going great so far. Okay, so here's what we have going on for the start of the 4th attempt. We've traded Vasilevsky once again for Matheson, Hudson, Price, and Anderson. Then you have Strome from Washington in exchange for Bjorkstrand, Lilleberg, Foster, Saaralainen, and a second. And then from Washington, once again, you have Carlson in exchange for McDonough, essentially, and Huhtinen and Medigan. And then you have, from Anaheim, Mrazek in exchange for Holmberg in a second. So now this is what the lines are looking like. Hagel, Point, Kucherov, Gensel, Strome, Geeky, Goncalves, Sorelli, and Shafi, and then Pelletier, Paul, and Gord. And then on the defense, you have Hedman and Carlson, Hudson and Mosier, Matheson and Radish, and then in goal you have Mrazek and Johansson. All the defensive core has entirely blue line chemistry, and then the top 2 forward lines have blue line chemistry as well, in addition to the 3rd and 4th line having green chemistry. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to make a run at the Stanley Cup this year. I mean, I guess it all depends on how Mrazek does, right? Like the goaltender is always the wild card, but overall we should not be. This team shouldn't struggle. Well, The good news is that we won the championship. We won the Stanley Cup in year number 1 of the 4th retry. And I thought I was recording here's the thing. I thought I was recording during game number 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals when we won in 5 games. Turns out I wasn't. So we won in game number 5, 4-3. So we finally did complete this challenge. And I'll show you guys the point leaders from the regular season and playoffs. Nikita Kucherov with 109 points leads our team, 97 for points. Then you have 78 for Hagel, 72 for Hedman, and then 62 for Gensel and Hudson. And then in goal, you have Peter Mrazek in 62 games played with 41 wins and a .903 save percentage. So didn't do as well as I would have liked him to do, but he did well enough to get us into the playoffs. And then during the playoffs, he had an .896 save percentage in 22 games played. So he was pretty shaky, all things considered. We still won the Stanley Cup. Would have liked him to do better, but again, all that matters is that we won. And you could probably imagine the reason that we won is due to our forwards, and was it ever, as Braden Point with 40 points in 22 games played, 22 goals, and then Nikita Kucherov following right after him with 39 points. So those two, just an incredible duo throughout this year. And then you have Gensel with 26, Carlson with 23. He was such a key pickup. And then Hagel, Strome, and Hudson all with 22 points as well. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 point per game players in the playoffs. It's pretty clear how we won here. Oh yeah, and we went 53, 25, and 4 during the regular season. So all in all, a very good season for your Tampa Bay Lightning. It took us 4 tries to get it done, and I believe it was 10 seasons in total, because this is year number 1 of the 4th retry, and you have 3 years per try. So with that being done, we have now officially unlocked our next challenge, which will be the Colorado Avalanche. So I think we'll end things off here, but not before I thank the channel members. Thank you guys so much for all your support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.